Hello, everybody. My name is Axel Montalban. Today I'm going to be touching on the subject of religion, ritual, and religiosity from the chapter 6 of Contemporary China Society and Social Change by Tamara Jaka. Hope you guys enjoy this presentation. Throughout China, during the different ages, there was always teachings, but there was never a specific religion. Before the Qing Dynasty, there was no category of religion in China. The Imperial Chinese ruled through a lot of these combinations of teachings, even though they never actually came up with one specific religion. They did adopt a lot of the teachings like medicine and astrology and culture. Um, and now in more modern China, since the Westerners really improved, a lot of the Western imperialism did affect and influence China. From this influence and impression, they created the Religious Affairs Bureau. Through here, they categorized religion into five official religions, which was Christianity, Catholicism, Buddhism, Islam, and Taoism. And all places of worship must be recognized as these five religions, or they're considered illegal. The RAB, they approve clergy members in official places of worship so they could prevent superstitious activities. Even though there's been a lot of suppression from religious practices, the UNESCO has made it more flexible for people to practice their oral tradition and has become an excuse for local governments to support a great amount of temples, temple festivals, and performing arts and other local traditions that were previously considered superstitious. Popular religions in China is polytheistic, meaning that they worship more than one god. They worship, they go to different temples, and then right after they decide to go to another temple. It could be for a god, a spirit, or an ancestor, and it could be in another location. The way that they understand the spiritual world is that it is inhabited by different supernatural beings, and it makes sense to direct prayers to more than one so they could be blessed. Notions of efficacy and reciprocity are very important in China. In terms, it means that it's good to give to spirits so you can receive. Officious spirits are those that who answer one's prayers, and giving, uh, like a like a token or just giving to a god or burning incense involves sincere and loyal religious practice, and like that they could be more blessed. The worship of many gods is very conflicted versus large monotheistic religions like Christianity. That's why a lot of family members and friends are always split apart due to this. Like, for instance, if you burn incense to a dead member, it seems like you're idolizing someone instead of the specific. And most of these popular religions, they remain linked to one place, uh, compared to Islam. Like, you have to go to Mecca, or Christianity, where you could pray anywhere. Here, you just go to the temples, which are in local villages. But as China urbanizes, it has lost its touch of local religious character due to tourism and moving into this. Many parts of China have different religions. Uh, for instance, a local temple becomes Taoist. In the northern part of Shanxi, people worship the Black Dragon King, which is associated with raining, since that area is really poor and is really prone to drought. The temple was torn down during the Cultural Revolution, but it was rebuilt in 1982. It was torn down because they believed that it wasn't going to flourish, but after it was rebuilt, they really believed that it did. By six local villagers, and this case shows a complex relationship between religion and politics at a local level. Since the 1990s, the temple has had a lot of donations, which were used to restore a forest around it or throw temple festivities like local opera, since the Black Dragon King was said to enjoy traditional forms of local opera. It was also used to construct a primary school for local villagers and and also extend the location of the temple. Local officials made no attempt to close down the temple because they liked the festivities, and also some of the officials believed in the Black Dragon King, and they didn't want to get involved, and they didn't want to get him mad. And in 1998, the head of the temple Boss Wang, convinced the RAB to make it official that the temple is a Taoist temple, and it actually benefited the officials because they threw festivities, and ever since that time, they've been throwing festivities on the birthday of the Black Dragon King, and now you can actually find the pictures online. Another big religion is the Tibetan Buddhism. Uh, it has had over the years a lot of ethno-religious conflicts between uh, the Tibetans and the Chinese state, and it's now one of the most explosive issues today. In 1951, as the CCP was trying to go into Tibet, they came into an agreement with the 14th Dalai Lama to assume the safety of the religion, which included the temples and the practices and the oral traditions. But during the 1950s, there's a huge decade of conflict over land reforms and undermining the economic basis of the monasteries because of attempts to impose religious restrictions on monks. And it reached its peak when in 1959 the PLA invited the Dalai Lama to watch it for performance in their camp, but it was actually a cover to kidnap the Dalai Lama. From this, the Dalai Lama and most of the monks fled out of the country and into India, where they set up a government in exile. The Cultural Revolution hit Tibet pretty hard. It caused a lot of bloody scenes, especially the Niamo Revolt of 1968 through 19. But after the Mao era, during the 1980s, there has been relaxations on religious activities, which have led to renewals of signs of religion, including pilgrimage, temple building, and more religious teachings. Still, there are heavy restrictions and support and training for monks that have meant that although the number of temples have exceeded since the 1940s, the number of monks has dropped pretty low. The PRC has made few attempts to reach out to Dalai Lama and the government exile during the post-Mao period, but has not been able to convince them. Even the government right now is still in India, but desires more independence for Tibet than the PRC is willing to allow. Since the 1990s, the PRC has not really included the Dalai Lama into its popular religions and popular beliefs, but it has substituted those beliefs for economic development and allowing but regulating a religious practice. The promotion of development has resulted in some economic gains for average Tibetans, though many have complained that most of the gains have been captured by migrating Han Chinese. The belief of Buddhism is that all life may be reincarnated as higher lower forms, and especially enlightened individuals may leave the world and the cycle of reincarnation altogether. Some individuals, however, do choose to return to this earth to help others move toward enlightenment, especially charismatic masters, who are often seen as reincarnations of past enlightened religious leaders. Lines of reincarnation have been institutionalized in different monasteries, and the RAB has actually limited the reincarnates to one per monastery, and requires that they be approved by the RAB. The Dalai Lama has actually been completely eliminated from the process of selecting these reincarnated lamas, which have led to widespread view among Tibetans that the officially selected lamas lack legit factors. And even though a lot of the Chinese don't like the Dalai Lama, The Dalai Lama actually won the Nobel Peace Award in 1989 for its peace efforts. It was awarded by Western countries, and a lot of the people now are joining together and are being taught Buddhism all over the world, especially in Western society. During the early 1990s, toward the end of the period of Qigong fever, Ling Hongzhi developed his own form of Qigong practice. He called it Falun Gong. Li states that it is not a religious form, but a form of spiritual cultivation of health training based on principles that are not against science. And then actually in 1999, after a popular magazine criticized the religion, tens and thousands of people lined up outside the most official formal government to riot against the Chinese officials to a petition against that magazine. After a long investigation, the Chinese began a major propaganda campaign denouncing Falun Gong as a superstitious and illegal organization, and it was a heretical form of religious teaching. And during the first decade of the 21st century, despite being a lot of defiance against the government by Falun Gong members, the crackdown actually succeeded, and they silenced Falun Gong within China for good. But public practice is still around the world, in America, Australia, Europe, and Hong Kong. And Falun members often protest in front of Chinese embassies and consulates, and have started a newspaper in both Chinese and English that are extremely critical of the CCP and its record of human rights violation. The religion that most people know is the Wenzhou Christianity, which there are 20 to 200 million Christians in China, and most are Protestant. One researcher, Cao Nanli, states that Wenzhou Christianity is dominated by a group of middle-aged entrepreneurs known as the Boss Christians. Boss Christians are evangelic, meaning they have sermons, but these sermons are mostly taught by Boss Christians, and migrant worker preachers can never preach at Boss Christian churches. In Western churches, women preach rarely, and they're not they don't live by the teachings of the Bible, but instead of emotional familial. They believe in these religions because it creates emotional, personal disclosures about their family problems and reveal how God has led them to overcome certain problems. And they pray together to alleviate illnesses and difficult family relationships. Confucian philosophy is seen as a religion. It is actually a tradition that traces back to the Lunyu, which is the Analects of Confucius, the things that he wrote. The most important aspect of contemporary Confucianism is the many temples devoted to both Confucius and Confucian philosophers. A second religious aspect of Confucianism is the attitude many readers take toward the text and his traditions, which they take to heart. And in these temples, people dance and they go over and recite the words and the readings of the books of the Analects of Confucianism, and that's how they're able to. But despite all these religions, the biggest religion that people seem to practice is the state, which they actually consider themselves religious in attempt to prove their legit ways of doing things. There are many similarities between Maoism and religion, but after the Mao era, the state has lost religious recognition. And Chinese religion after this has been growing a lot, and a lot more people are looking into spiritual beings and are practicing ways of living through spirituality and religion, which will help the Chinese progress. Thank you for this presentation. Hope you guys enjoy it.